and welcome to Getting to Good Enough, a podcast to help you let go of perfectionism so you can do more of what you love. I'm Shannon Wilkinson, a life coach in Portland, Oregon. I'm a recovering perfectionist who's getting better at good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams, a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And today, we're talking about preventing overwhelm. Hey, Janine.
Hey, Shannon, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah. I'm interested in talking about preventing overwhelm because I've never felt overwhelmed before, so I'm just curious what that's all about.
For a second, I was going to say, seriously?
That's hilarious. I'm glad that I gave you pause.
Yeah.
I don't imagine there's anybody who's never felt overwhelmed.
It is pretty common for people to feel overwhelmed, but there are definitely some things you can do to help prevent that. And we've talked a fair amount about, things you can do once you are feeling overwhelmed. And, a couple episodes ago when we talked about getting started and, we've talked a lot about breaking things up into small steps, and which always helps. But let's see what we could do about not getting there in the first place.
I think that would be great, a great service to all, including me. So, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, one of the first things you can do is to get okay with saying no.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
And we had an episode on overcommitting, right?
Yeah.
Way back when.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, that's a big contributor to feeling overwhelmed is saying yes to too many things. And if you can limit yourself from the beginning to what feels really doable to you, then the odds of you becoming overwhelmed are so much smaller.
That's excellent advice. And what popped into my head was one way to help your decide what to say yes to is knowing what's important to you, right? So
right.
Getting in touch with that is so important. It's funny because when we recorded the episode, on our 52nd episode, I said that I was in the mode of saying no to things. And I'm glad I didn't say no to your suggestion that we podcast together, because it turned, I could identify immediately. I think that it was something that met my requirements, right, for what's important to me. Yeah. So that's.
Yeah. I know, that's funny. I was thinking about that too, because you said that, and you have gotten really good at saying no. Mm-hmm. So do you have any thoughts on that? What you've done to get better at it?
I think really it is about knowing what's important to me. So I know what my priorities are in terms of how I spend my time. And if it doesn't fit in, it's not hard for me to say no.
Yeah.
I think it's just that I'm old, I don't feel the guilt. I don't,
right.
I said yes a lot when I was starting my organizing business to lots of great volunteer opportunities that were very helpful to me in starting my, getting going in the field of professional organizing. And now I feel as though those opportunities, sometimes I can help, but really it's people who are newer in their businesses that are going to benefit more than I am.
Yeah.
And so, and certainly the people who are asking for the volunteers also will benefit from those people, from newer, fresher minds. I'm ending my term as director of membership of the St. Louis chapter of NAPO next week, and I was realizing that I've been on that board of that chapter for 10 out of the last 13 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to not being on the board as much as I love the organization and love helping it. I know that other people will benefit from, the organization will benefit from newer, fresher minds. So anyway,
right.
I think it's really, truly, it's about knowing what's important to me and not feeling guilty about letting people down, because I'm not the be all and end all. If I say no to something, there's going to be somebody else for whom that opportunity is more beneficial and more exciting.
That's a really good thing to remember.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard
as a result.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if someone commits to something and they are overcommitted, which I think is probably what we talked about in that particular episode, you don't do as good a job.
Right.
And, or you are frustrated by it, or, it doesn't work out as well as when you commit to, when you only say yes to the things that really mean a lot to you, that are aligned with your priorities and that you have the time and energy to do.
Exactly. Right. And if it's a big fat drag to you, you're not going to do a good job probably. And if it's then compared to somebody who thinks it's fun. I mean, we talked yesterday, our last episode, about our division of labor with the podcast and how you do stuff that I wouldn't want to do and I do stuff that you wouldn't want to do, and we're both happy. Yay.
Yeah.
So that works out really well.
Right. And I have a vague recollection of when we were doing that and, being sort of concerned that we were both going to want to do the same things and like not wanting to say no to the part that I didn't want to do. And, but, when we both said what we wanted to do, it worked out perfectly. And I mean, that's not always the case, but.
Right. It's the ideal.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the part I do. So, it's interesting. So saying no is a good first step to not feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think so. And that sort of goes into the idea of sort of stepping away from the busy culture, this idea of being busy, and how in our society it feels like being busy is a badge of honor somehow. And that if you're not busy, then something's wrong. And it's totally okay to not be busy.
I think it's better than okay. It's like having moments of stillness or quiet or calm it's so important to have that. And when you think about how many people never get that unless they're about to go to sleep, or not even then.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not sustainable to be busy all the time. And if you can embrace not being busy, then you can step away from feeling overwhelmed as well, potentially.
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting experiment to not say that you're busy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
to try to avoid saying that.
Yeah. So when people say, like, how are you? It's so common to say, busy. How have you been? Mm-hmm. Busy.
Right. How are things going? Busy.
Yeah. And so to step away from that and think about different ways that you can answer that question and different ways that you can be in your life. What can you step away from that allows you to legitimately say that you're any way other than busy?
Right. Yeah. I try really hard not to work in the evenings. I used to have a policy where I didn't work after dark, which extended the work day in the summer. But I really need to have my relaxing time after I finish working. And sometimes it starts later than I want, but because my boss is really mean. But and I am at the point, I guess, right now where I don't sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed, but I don't feel overly busy, and I appreciate that.
That's a nice feeling.
With age too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of it. Like, I wish I had a better idea of how to understand my capacity when I was younger. Mm-hmm. You know, now it's just like, I'm just not going to get it done. So,
right.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Knowing what you can get done, knowing your capacity. We had an episode on capacity too.
Right.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really important. And it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it with overwhelm, but absolutely. If you take on more because you're not understanding that you can't get it all done, then you do yourself a big favor by trying to understand your capacity.
Yeah. I think, like, really recognizing that your time is a finite resource, and allotting it, knowing that, makes a big difference. I mean, I think that people have a tendency to feel like they can make the time, like, oh, I'll figure this out, I'll squeeze this in somewhere. But there truly is only a set number of hours in a day. And, hopefully everyone is sleeping enough of those hours.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I think often sleep is what gets sacrificed, which is also not sustainable or healthy or anything. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's funny that you said as you get older. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms, but yeah, I'm definitely much more like, no, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And, dealing with my own or others' disappointment over that fact. And one of the other things that you can do to help prevent overwhelm is to create systems and to sort of automate the things that happen regularly.
Right. Can you give an example of automation?
Well, we talked about this last episode about, this is not automation, like electronic automation, but, you were talking about how you created a list of the things that need to happen to get the podcast published every week. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have to spend any time thinking about it, and you don't have to worry that whether or not you remembered everything, because it's all in the list.
Right. Thankfully, I don't even have to look at the list right now. But at the beginning, I sure did. And if ever you had to do it, you could. Right.
Right.
And it frees up your brain.
Yeah. And, that's the same thing like, creating a morning routine. Like, when you do those things automatically, then, and you don't have to think about them, you're not going to get overwhelmed by it.
Right. Yeah. And it's so funny because this topic is such an overarching topic, and I keep thinking of episodes that we've done that relate to it, like this, that this is an umbrella over. And what just jumped into my mind was that daily action versus, what was it, versus daily action versus...
versus letting a backlog
build up. We had a better word for it than that. It was... Batching. Yeah, so I was thinking about a messy kitchen and a piled up dishes, so overwhelming. But a daily routine of running the dishwasher, the dishes aren't overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah, it's that automatic routine. Yep.
Figuring out those places where you can make something, create a system or a routine, and you don't have to figure it out every time, mm-hmm. goes a long way to prevent overwhelm.
Yep. good advice.
And also, I mean, the other thing that does is it helps you think through how things can go more smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, thinking about it in advance instead of doing it on the fly, whether you're doing it once or on a regular basis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on, as I mentioned, I'm leaving office as a director of membership of NAPO St. Louis, and I'm finalizing the policies and procedures document for my successor. And it really is an interesting exercise to write down every step of something and think about, I mean, most of the stuff had been in my head.
Right.
So thinking about what could come up down the road that hasn't come up in various aspects of the job, and trying to prepare for that, or have at least be able to reference the policy if that should happen, and so forth. So yeah, that kind of preparation is, I hope, going to make her feel less overwhelmed. Although, who knows? It may be such a long document that it make her feel overwhelmed. And if she's like me, she won't read it because it's too overwhelming.
It's too much.
But that's a good point. That preparation's important.
Yeah. It makes a difference. It's that whole concept of setting yourself up for success.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do a podcast on that?
I don't think so. We need to.
Yeah, because that is something that is really helpful.
And you know what? It just jumped into my head was along those lines. Not just setting yourself up for success, but understanding what success looks like.
Right.
Yeah. It's a big part of setting yourself up for success. But I'm going to add it to the topic list, Shannon.
Oh, good. No, we have another one to do. Yeah. And speaking of having a system, is getting everything out of your head into a system. We've talked a lot about task management, and that just trying to track all of the things you need to do, even if you're not overcommitted and you're not feeling busy, just trying to track things in your head can make you feel overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the aging brain, seems to me. Writing things down is... it's essential for me. That's all there is to it.
Right. It has to happen, or it doesn't happen. I mean, It has to be written down, or it doesn't happen.
Or it vanishes, yeah.
Yeah. I think, wasn't there something in the last week or so where I didn't write it down and completely forgot about it?
I believe it was recording the podcast.
Oh, right.
the last time we recorded.
Right. Yeah.
I think I texted you, okay, I'm ready. Or no, I think I said, oh, I know, I thought I might be late. Oh, I'm not late after all. I'm ready to record.
And I was like, wait a minute. Oopsie. Yes. Yeah. Although I just knew that there was something that wasn't, I was like, I kept looking at my calendar and I felt like should be something on there, and there wasn't, and then I figured out what it was when you texted. I was like, oh, right. But if it doesn't go in my calendar, it's not going to happen.
Right, exactly. So writing it down, why tax your brain with that? Because it certainly, I mean, for me, when I feel overwhelmed, well, I was about to say something really obvious, which was when I feel overwhelmed, it's all in my brain. Of course it is. But I mean, I feel like I'm overwhelmed by the thoughts and the things that are floating around in there. And I feel less overwhelmed if it's written down, even if it's still more than my capacity can accomplish.
But yeah, somehow that sort of constrains it in a way that makes it feel ultimately doable.
It becomes tangible, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And get your arms around a task list.
Right. And that's another thing to keep in mind is that allow yourself some spaciousness. Like, give yourself a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Create wiggle room.
Because when you have that, when you have a little bit of, you know, you have a time where you can catch up or where you can take a breath, you're going to feel less overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's sort of interesting is that, I sort of think of the opposite of overwhelm as being under control. And one of the interesting things about being under control is that, and feeling overwhelmed is that recognizing that you don't have control over a lot of things helps you be less overwhelmed and feel more in control. It's a complete paradox.
Yeah. Recognizing you don't have control makes you feel more in control.
Right.
Yeah. But it makes sense. How
Yeah.
interesting. I don't think I've ever thought of it that way. But letting go of what you can't control and focusing on that which you can.
Right.
It makes you feel less overwhelmed.
Yeah. And really what made me think about this was you saying about it all being in your head, the thing that you have the most control over are your perceptions and your feelings.
It doesn't always feel that way, but I trust you when you say that.
It doesn't feel that way in that you feel that you don't have control over those things, or
that's the thing I have most control over.
Oh,
Yeah. But you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes
because like you said, those things are all in your head.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and can't tell you how many times I've said to people who are upset about somebody else, like, you can't control their actions. All you can control is how you feel about their actions. And that sometimes is helpful, sometimes annoying. Probably.
Yeah, it can be annoying because you really want them to change.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that can be the same thing with this. Like, you really want the outside world to be different, the number of things that you have to do to be different, but, they are what they are. And so recognizing how you feel about it and not allowing yourself to get to that place where you feel overwhelmed by doing some of these things and will help you be back in control over it.
Mm-hmm. It just occurred to me that self-care can help you prevent overwhelm, because I think we feel more overwhelmed when our brains when we're not sleeping well, or we're drinking too much, or our health isn't as good, or perhaps for people like you, when we're not exercising. I do just fine without exercise. No, I exercise, but
wait, come on! How many days of yoga?
Well, I've done it the last few days, but I think I didn't do it on Friday. Friday was a weird day, but I'm still going since December 12th. I'm still doing yoga, and I have an active job, so I'm, I get in my steps.
Right. Yeah.
But in any case, self-care helps our brains eating right, keeps our brains clearer, which helps us feel less overwhelmed.
Right. I mean, how much easier is it to do a difficult task when you have had plenty of sleep, when you've had something nutritious to eat, when you're feeling clear? Like if you have all of that stuff at a good baseline where you're not feeling tired, you're not hungry, it's so much easier to do things.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Everything's much more complicated when you're hangry.
It's so true. And also, we talked a little bit, not on the podcast, but on the phone about time of day that you do things.
Yeah.
And being in touch with the time of day that where you're at your peak, if you're going to be trying to do something that is challenging, it's going to make you, presumably you'll feel less overwhelmed than if you're doing it, when you're hangry and at your worst.
Right. So I think that's such a great point, that self-care prevents overwhelm. And it's pretty straightforward, even though we might not normally make that connection. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty important one.
I don't know that I've ever made it before today, but I agree. It's a good one.
Yeah. So, do you have any more thoughts about this, preventing overwhelm?
No, I think, one thought that popped in my head when we were talking about saying no, and it being easier as I've gotten older, is the one thing I've learned, especially since I started my organizing business. I've learned that it's okay to say things that the person who's hearing it doesn't want to hear. It used to be really hard for me to say something I didn't think the person would want to hear. And now, like if someone wants me to make an exception to a policy or wants me to offer a discount or something like that, and now I can just say it and life goes right on. I rarely get any pushback, and it's fine, right? So saying no to a volunteer commitment, for example, or to dinner at your cousin's house if it's not convenient or whatever, is probably easier on the recipient's mind than you think it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think too that it's hard for me to remember because I'm not naturally a person who follows the adage, it doesn't hurt to ask. Right. I usually think about much more about, how it will be on the other person if I ask. But a lot of people do follow that and ask and know that you can say no.
What's the worst they can do? Say no, right? Those are those people.
Yeah.
I'll ask. What's the worst?
Right.
They'll just say no. No big deal. Right.
And so,
other people are wound up and thinking it's too hard to say no because it'll hurt their feelings or whatever.
Yeah. So I just presume that when people are asking me a question, that they're asking me the question under the guise of it doesn't hurt to ask.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's as good a presumption as any, since you don't know.
Yeah. So then, but by just making that assumption, then it gives me much more freedom to say no.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Yeah. I remember reading when I was in my 20s, I read Miss Manner's Guide to whatever, etiquette. And she said when you decline an invitation, you don't have to give a reason. Just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't." That was really freeing to me.
Yes.
It's like you don't even. Etiquette says I don't have to give you a reason, and if you ask me what the reason is, you're the one being rude, and I still don't have to answer.
Right.
She would say, "Just look at them if they ask you that. Why can't you go? I'm sorry, I can't." And it's like,
yeah.
So you don't have to take every invitation either.
That's right, and that's a good thing to remember, that to not. If you find it difficult to say no, to just say no in a very simple, straightforward way like that, and without giving a reason, because people can argue with you over the reason. Mm-hmm. They can, come back. They can counter your reason. If you don't give them a reason, they can't.
Right. Yeah. You keep the power in the conversation. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, saying no and being aware of only saying yes to the things that really matter to you, that fit your why, is a great first step to preventing overwhelm.
Right. Well, and it's actually maybe a second step, with the first step being know your why, right? Or know what's important to you. I mean, if you can set up criteria for how you spend your time, the things that you spend your valuable time on are, feeding these things, that can help prevent overwhelm as well.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were just giving an example that one of the things that is valuable to you, a valuable way to spend your time is feeding. And I was waiting what you were going to say. Like feeding your poodle, feeding people, feeding what?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's true. I gave a big pause because the words weren't coming out right. Yeah. No, I don't feed much. I feed my poodle and sometimes myself. And tonight I'm feeding 4 organizers.
What are you feeding them?
Mexican chicken soup.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so that's easy. And they're bringing dips and things. And we're going to play games.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
What
Bix will be in his element.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be nice.
That's great.
And I don't feel overwhelmed, so there we go.
Good.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of ways in which you could feel overwhelmed with this.
Yes, I mentioned that in the last episode.
Oh, it just feels like yesterday.
That's right. And they're going to be here in 40 minutes, and I'm cool and calm and collected.
That's awesome. And you have a poodle to walk.
And I have a poodle to walk on a beautiful day, though. 75 degrees.
Well, that's a good reason for us to wrap this up. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think I've rambled enough. Thank you for indulging me.
All right. Well, we would like to hear from you, our listeners. When do you feel overwhelmed? Do you have ways that you keep from getting overwhelmed? You can leave us a message at 413-424-GTGE. That's 4843. You can leave a comment on the episode show notes at gettingtogoodenough.com, or you can click through and find us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. But for now, this is Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
And Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope that good enough is getting easier for you. That wasn't overwhelming at all.
No. It worked out just fine.